Introducing our next presenter or presenters. Young lady who grew up in Altadena, California, very humble family beginnings. Her first golf bag was something her dad made from a cardboard tube and electrical tape, but that was enough to get her in love with the sport. Her dad taught her, was her first instructor, using Ben Hogan's 5 fundamentals as the basis for their golf. She's an alumni of the PGA Junior Tour, as many in the group are. She was a walk-on at UCLA, where she had 7 top 20 finishes and was a member of the 2004 Bruins National Championship team. She was a 3-time winner on the Symetra Tour and earned her way to the LPGA Tour via 3rd-place finish on that money list. While on the Symetra Tour, she was honored as the 2010 Heather Wilbur Spirit Award winner. That's presented to the player who best exemplifies dedication, courage, perseverance, love of the game, and spirit toward achieving their goals as a professional. She's been an LPGA Tour member since 2012 with over $3 million in winnings. Many of you may know her as the winner of the 2014 AIG Women's British Open champion at Birkdale. And pretty amazing stat. We get a lot of stats in golf, but this is pretty incredible. Her career fairways hit percentage on the LPGA Tour is 88%. She's an honorary board member of... Yeah, give her a hand for that. That's a decent number. She's an honorary board member for the SCPGA Foundation, where I know she's grateful getting to give back to SCPGA Junior Golf. And we know her as someone who is forever smiling, forever enthusiastic. And I threatened to share, and I'm going to get this story wrong, but it'll be close enough. She practices out at Virginia along with several of Jamie's other players he coaches. Luke List, again, this isn't the story, Mo, but you don't have to correct me. It'll sound fine this way. Luke won a goldfish at the county fair. That's how we're going to start it. And Luke was going to flush the goldfish, but Mo was too much of a humanitarian. She said, bring the goldfish to me and I'll take care of it. She drove through the guard gate maybe a week or two later, and she was the proud owner of 17 new goldfish. So she's a sweetheart. She drives through the gate at Virginia all the time with a smile on her face. She's always upbeat, and she's, as we said, undyingly enthusiastic about what she's doing, and she's a pleasure for us to be around. Miss Melissa Martin. Thank you. And Mr. Jamie Mulligan, CEO of Virginia Country Club.
Cool. Let's do this. That is the most G-rated I've heard the goldfish story. So thank you, Steve, for making it for the children here with me being at the top of the list, G-rated. I always tell this story. Maybe some of you have heard it, but when they brought up Luke, I couldn't help myself. Luke and Mo and I are hitting balls one day at Virginia in our shag range out there, and Luke's hitting these 7-irons, you know, and the TrackMan's right there. This was before Foresight, so don't get offended wherever you are, Tim and Tim. But anyways, he's hitting these 7-irons, and they're going straight up in the air, and they're just launched, and Mo's standing there watching them go one after another up in the air like that, you know. And the TrackMan's going 204, 203, 206, 204, and Mo goes, you said a cuss word, but I won't say that since we're on the G-rated. Mo said, explicitive Luke, I got 13 clubs in my bag that don't go over 200 yards. And Luke, without missing a beat, smart kid, looks pretty but real smart, goes to Vanderbilt. He goes, Mo, I got 13 in my bag that don't go under 200 yards. Yeah. I think you can tell with what we're trying to do with this thing, just in a macro sense, the whole summit, is we're trying to give back and make the game better. And she exemplifies that in so many different ways. And she's living it, which, just like you just saw from Michael Breed, just like you've seen from Jim McLean, everybody that's been here, is they're living their passion, and they're showing you their passion, and they're showing you why they're great at what they do. So I think in the next however long that we're here for, an hour, she's not only going to hit some straight shots, but she's also going to tell you about her story, which is equally, if not more impressive. So with that being said, in the spirit of philanthropy with a bunch of golf pros that need to be educated, me included, educate.
All right. Am I on here?
You are. You're Madonna. You're Madonna, by the way.
So thank you very much for having me here today. I know I'm in super elite company, so I appreciate that. I have a lot of respect for you all as well. And if you forget everything I say today, I really want you to just walk away with the message that I want it to be empowered. for you guys to know what a difference you can make, and that we all are indebted to make that difference. You know, golf has changed all of our lives. We've made it our livelihoods, our careers. You know, I got my college education through this. And I cannot tell you who this is because I promised him he would remain anonymous. But one of your constituents, so somebody you regularly sit beside, anonymously sponsored me when I was young, coming up in the SCPGA. So we couldn't afford the entry fees at the time. And he didn't know exactly how bad things were, but this person paid them anonymously, and he did it with his hands down, never expected to be paid back. I actually had to hunt him down. He didn't want to be found. But I was introduced to him recently, and it was a very happy day for me. And I was, but he doesn't, I don't even think he knows this story. Not a lot of people know this story, but it came up recently. I was reading an article, and it said, if you're ever stuck, if you've blown what is it? One of your, no, in the car, no, going round and round circle, no, a belt, thank you, I'm sorry. If you ever blow a belt, you can get pantyhose and you can tie them and you can get yourself on the road again. And in reading that, I was like, okay, firsthand, I know that's true. We were playing Singing Hills at Junior World one year. Took the most reliable car we had, which was my sister's Carmen Ghia, not very reliable. It broke down on the 5 freeway, and my dad got me out of the car, held my hand. We went across the north and the south lanes, went to a department store, got pantyhose, came back. He tied it on as a belt. We went on our way. Didn't have a hotel reservation, and so we slept on a lawn chair for the tournament. And right there in the hotel, right around the pool. And I got ready in the bathroom on the golf course. And my dad collected the loose range balls that I practiced with. So these are my humble beginnings.
And to make that go full circle, we were just standing there whispering to each other funny stuff. And Bob Madsen was the only one that came up, and he introduced himself to Mo, and we just looked at each other like, whoa, that just happened. Think about that. The world kind of comes around, doesn't it? It's cool.
Yeah, I don't think you knew about that story. Hopefully there aren't any pictures of me sleeping out there in the lawn chair. But no shame in it if I did. I just want you all to know that, you know, we have the resources or the kind words to encourage somebody, and to make sure that people who want to stay involved in golf deserve that. And the person who did sponsor me, it was really important for him as well. He realized that all other sports had these measures to keep kids in the game that couldn't otherwise stay in it. And so I think it's our privilege and our obligation to do that to everybody who wants to stay in the game. So please take that with you. Remember my story, and I hope you feel empowered, even if, like I said, if you can use your resources or direct kids to the SCPGA that has some really incredible resources right now. So please do remember that. Thank you. I mean, you never know what your next major champion's going to look like, or where they came from, or whether they're going to be a boy or a girl, or how far they're going to hit it. And so just let's keep this game as wonderful as it is, because it's the best game in the world. Well
stated. We're going to hit some golf balls, and we're going to talk. So I was going to look into, you know, we have a guy that does all the stats pretty explicitly for us, and they're copious and comprehensive. And so I was going to call him, and he always answers, and he didn't answer. And so that's weird. Something's going on. Phone just went to voicemail. Turns out he was on a plane. Anyways, so I just looked up Mo's last tournament, and her last tournament, she hit 53 of 54 fairways. So, well, she takes a couple practice swings.
I don't remember the other one.
Yeah. She doesn't remember the other one. I got a feeling hit a sprinkler head and bounced right in the intermediate. But as she warms up a little bit and hits a couple shots, we'll talk about it a little bit. Beautiful. We are a team, and, you know, the team is, it takes a village to do this a lot of time, and her village starts at Virginia Country Club, where she's there a lot and working on it. It didn't originate there, but now that's where it is all the time now. And Mo has also been with Ian Triggs in Australia, who is my Australian older brother from another mother. And so we've kind of collaborated on this as far as the swing goes, and then I've done the putting and the short game portion of it and a lot of the tactical stuff about it. And obviously she brings a bunch to the table, so that's kind of our instruction story. We'll talk a little bit about our motion, and as in all these segments have been, the more interactive that you are today with us, the better we are. Keep doing that. The more questions that you have, go ahead and throw them out there. I will have a typical day at Virginia where we'll see 2 kids that could play on tour, 2 people that do play on tour, 2 people that have played on tour and they're on the Champions Tour. That'll be a typical day. And they all hit it, and then, Mo will come out and hit some few balls before dark, and I realized that everybody I saw earlier wasn't hitting it as straight as I thought they were. Think about that one.
Yeah, I don't make a lot of big numbers, don't get in a lot of trouble. We played Lytham at the British a couple years ago, and that place is littered with bunkers, I think most in the world, if I'm correct. And I think at the end of Sunday I went back and I was in 2 bunkers. One of them was a green side and the other was fairway. So it just, I call it, it's just my insurance, staying on tour, hitting it straight, not getting in a lot of trouble. And I think it's important to distinguish. I don't hit it far, but I hit it far enough. And I think that's a line that a lot of people draw on the far side. They think they need to hit it, or somebody growing up, a junior, needs to hit it farther than they actually do. I've just really relied on my accuracy and my fairway woods. I've got a 3-wood, 5-wood, 7-wood, 9-wood. So replace my 4-iron with my 9-wood because I can hit it in there. I mean, it comes down like a butterfly. So I can get to pretty much any pin I want to. So I've just really made my woods my asset. And my ball striking, with Jamie and Ian really became wonderful when I started to work it and get comfortable both ways. So I can hit a draw and a fade on command. And I normally do that in the wind just to neutralize it. So I'm always kind of in the right part of the fairway that I want to be. And doing that, there's never really a golf course that's out of my reach. I can work it both ways. I'm comfortable. And I learned that, on the Symetra Tour. And with Jamie, I had my first lesson with Jamie, I think 2 decades ago. We go back a long ways.
Yeah, when you were 7 and I was 17.
And I echo his statement. If you guys have questions, and interactive is best for me too. I love high targets. So, I'll pick where I want to be on the green. I also think, even though my accuracy is a huge strength, I think my course management is equally as strong. And even though I hit it straight, I still think that's so incredibly important. Oh, we got a question.
Hi, Ryan Trengrove from Swing State Golf Lesson Center.
Hi,
I have a question. How many pins do you actually aim at in a tournament round?
Great question.
That's a super question. Not a lot. And honestly, with my wedges, I know this sounds a little pretentious, but I actually aim away from them a little bit because I don't want to hit the pins.
I wish she was kidding. Yeah.
A couple of my caddies have gotten in trouble because it's going towards it and it'll hit the pin and they go, fuck. And then the mic's hot and I say, you're paying that fine, not me.
Yeah.
But not a lot, I'm looking at it.
It took us a long time to get a cuss word in, okay? Yeah. Michael breeds that confession again.
Not a lot. I mean, I'm looking at the best putt I have for birdie. And they're going to set up at least, 3 or 4 sucker pins. And I never go with those. I'm not going to say never. If I need to make a birdie, if I'm around the cut line, I'll maybe go at something and be a little bit more aggressive. But in general, I mean, my management and my plan doesn't change at all. I can think one time on the Symetra Tour, I don't look at a lot of leaderboards either, because again, it's not going to change my strategy. But on the Symetra Tour, I actually needed, this was when 5 players got their tour card, and I was sitting on that 5th spot. And I said to myself, we had 3 tournaments to go. I said, I don't want to be in that 5th spot in the last tournament. And I actually won that tournament. But I didn't look at the leaderboard until Sunday, going from 17 to 18. And that was because it was a funky hole. And it was like an extreme dog leg, and there was OB that came right to the back of the green. And so I just wanted to know how conservative or aggressive I needed to be. And I saw that I had a 3-shot lead. And so I actually I got a number to the front of the green. So I just laid it up and then just got up and down for par. But just, that's the only time I'd really changed my strategy. So spend a lot of time Monday to Wednesday just figuring out what that strategy is going to be. And when we get to the British Open, I'll tell you another something that I guess not a lot of people know, but that's also the course management aspect of it.
Yeah, I was also going to say, going quickly, not to that British Open story, but at Woburn was what year? Was that 15 or 16 or 17 or 18?
16.
Yeah, 16. And Jerry Foltz texted me and said, I'm hurting my neck from shaking it from the right to the left and then straightening it when she hits it. We talked about this a little bit. It's a draw fade that goes straight, you know, and we'll talk about mechanics in a minute, but the ball, it straightens like I've never seen a golf ball straighten before. And then she's really fun to watch play dogleg golf courses and watch her challenge the dogleg and turn a 390-yard hole, which is typical LPGA number, into a 360-yard hole with her length and just cutting the dogleg off completely. And then I was going to tell you, in coaching some, you know, I call these players point A to point B players. John Cook's the same way. Paul Goydos the same way. Amy Alcott was the same way. It's a different game than, you know, definitely Luke's playing or Patrick's playing. Or I'm seeing a lot on the PGA Tour, but I've seen a lot of people do unbelievable things moving it from point A to point B. And when you really think about it, in the generation that kind of we grew up watching tour players, and I start to go, Payne Stewart, Mark O'Meara, John Cook, Fred Couples, Peter Jacobson, you know, and you start naming names like that, they all moved it from point A to point B. Those were the players that we kind of used to, and nobody was really moving. And I remember my first year of like being a golf professional, John McComish led the tour in driving distance, and he hit it 279 yards, which is, you know, that's Luke's hybrid. Downwind, it's his 4-iron. So, you know, Patrick can't hit a 3-wood unless he takes something off and chips it from less than 280 yards. So the game's changed a bunch as far as that goes. But I really think controlling the ball is more important than that. And if you really think through the generations of what we've watched, like I remember the year that Hale Irwin was the Champions Tour best player, and Annika was the best player by far in the game. And I mean the game at that point, and Duvall was that point. You know, Duvall was hitting a bunch of 3-woods, and Hale was bunting it, and they were doing that. And you still can do that, and it's fun to watch them manage it. Brandel, who you're going to see later, I was talking about. Sorry, this goes back to the goldfish mo, but I was.
It was actually a platy, for the record.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Oh, sorry.
And there are about 40 of them now.
Yeah,
they have babies.
Yeah.
The first one came pregnant.
Well, Luke's wife just had a baby again, so we already know he's fertile. So that's fine. It's just fertile. Everybody's got here because somebody had our baby. Hopefully not mine.
Well, it looks like you're down pretty far on the handle on your club there. Is that? I mean, I teach about an inch, you know, up on the grip.
With everybody? Do you teach everybody to hold the club the same way?
I have a lot of beginners, so I kind of start there.
What if anatomically their club's longer? You still just have them gripping in the same spot?
No. Actually, I have a student who came to me with longer clubs, and I had him grip down. He was chunking everything. I changed the position on his clubs, and immediately that improved his.
Yeah, I think for all of us out here, that's an anatomical question more than anything. And in 1 minute, we're going to get into our fundamentals, and we'll go over the anatomics. But I was telling Brandel that if Mo and Luke had a baby, nobody else would win a golf tournament, you know, because they would hit it 347 yards perfectly straight and make all their putts. And so, Mo, we're going to do some fundamental talk, okay? So this is what you're seeing. The straightest hitter in golf of all time when you think about it, by a lot of times almost 10 percentage points. And on the gentleman's tour, like 25 percentage points a lot of time. If Patrick's hitting 50 to 55% of his fairways, we're probably going to win that week if he makes a couple putts. So if you think how straight she's hitting it, she grips it with a baseball grip. So I want you to show your grip to everybody. And like when I was a kid, when I was a kid, what they told me is that if you don't grip it with if you don't grip it with your finger like that, you're never going to hit it straight enough to be able to play. So a lot of the last couple of days we've heard a bunch of fallacies, but that's an interesting one there too. And I would also say from us, as far as instructors go, like building speed is important for her. So building a little bit more hand speed at the bottom has always been helpful. She's got amazing touch. Having your hands apart are really helpful as far as that goes. And the club, the same thing with Fred, like hold it with your grip pressure. When he was Jim was talking about this, but I can get the club out of her hands like nothing, like it's a feather, where the typical person, go ahead and hold on to that. Don't let go, okay? I'm going to ruin my white shirt. But that's normally what we're doing. We're having a tug of war with somebody. So that would be the way that our hands are. And then will you slip into the ball and walk into this? And I think, sir, this might help why the club comes down a little bit. Stand as tall as you can before you walk into it and just turn around and face them, okay? And put your hands down, okay? Like, hang your fingers down. There you go. And I got some arms on me too, so you can kind of see where her fingertip is as far as that goes. That would be a huge thing for me first. So when somebody comes up to the ball, the first thing you want to do is look at their body anatomy and kind of figure out what it's going to look like in their hands. And then you want to grab their golf club that they're going to hit it with. Is it too heavy? What's the shaft like? What's it going to feel like in their hands before you do that? She has a guy, Cora, that does her club fitting, and I would say that's one of the huge parts of our village is him getting her golf clubs exactly dialed in exactly the right way. She also uses Nick Bedell to help us, who's unbelievable at the club work as well, too. And that portion is a big thing for us with our players, is what equipment they're using, and does the equipment work for them? Does it fit them, and what are their tendencies?
If you have long fingers, did you change your grip size for that?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that was really pretty. Let's give her a hand for these straight shots. They're nice, aren't they? Every golfer likes to be clapped for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my dad taught me, we couldn't afford lessons, so he taught himself and then built a net in our driveway. Actually came home and I started off with an interlock. And I went to kindergarten. I begged him to start playing when I was 4. I went to kindergarten. He put a permanent marker Sharpie on my hand where my palm was supposed to be over. And I remember my teacher kind of grabbing me after I got out of class, and she said, "Melissa," she said, what is that? And I looked at her, I was like, how do you not know? I was like, it's where my hand goes on my golf club. And I just walked out, but I was just like, how are you not in on that? You're the teacher, Yeah. So I had the interlock, but then, he was right. I was going to be small. And so he realized that. And so I think he thought my hands were going to be really small. So he came home one day and he said, get all your fingers on it. And I did. So, and my fingers did get long. That's a good observation. I wear a medium glove, but I
put
never
your hand
changed.
against mine. Her hands, she got some hand on her. So, and that's such an important part. Like that gets left alone a lot. I like shaking hands with somebody in the day when I was teaching golf lesson after golf lesson at Skylinks, when actually people shake rather than fist bump with a mask on. One cuss word, one COVID joke, okay? But like when you shake your hand, I think that's really important for you to do that. If I'm going to shake hands with you, I want to feel what your hand feels like and what your strength is. I want to feel how big your hand is, and then that's where we're going to start, because that's what they're doing. That's the first thing they're holding.
We had a question over here.
If anything, are you thinking about when you're playing your best golf in motion? What if there's one thing or no things? What are you thinking about? You're leading a tournament. What are you thinking about?
So, I guess 2 things. There's always a feeling of full for me, which is my turn. It's just a full turn and it's complete both ways. And then the more outward I can get my focus, the better I'm playing.
So are you not ever thinking of impact?
Never.
You're letting it happen. You're letting your body, you practice with a purpose and you're letting it come out.
Practice with a purpose is so important. And having a target. And when I'm on the LPGA, I see everybody's shadow moving and we're doing the same thing. We're getting back, we're picking our target. and even not going through our full routine, but
Practicing like you're playing.
practicing like you're coming into it. And I think that's so important just to make it automatic. And especially now I've been through a couple injuries, and it's just even more important just to condense everything and just quality instead of quantity.
Yeah, I want to hold on that one real quick. And Brent, on that of 24 PGA or LPGA players, that we've done, and most of them before they became tour players, we don't have one impact person. So y'all have your way to do it, and I kind of like what Chris said and described of it's going from here to here, but the ball's just sitting there, and it's been my experience putting to hitting that, and Marcus kind of alluded to this too. Great putting strokes don't go find the ball. Great putting strokes allow the putter to let the ball get in the way, correct, Marcus? And same thing with great swings. They find the ball the right way, and that's your job to figure that out. And I'll also do this one. If I took to the top of my swing, okay, and you say, Jamie, before I get to impact, you were late there by a little bit. Are you really going to think about what you're going to do on the way down before you hit it? And she's playing so much golf, that has to be done beforehand. So, yeah.
Wait, hang on. Please don't kill that bug. Speaking of the humanitarian, I'm going to be very upset if somebody steps on that. So please, for my sake.
She is. I'm just going to get into my finger and get it out of here so
Okay.
people don't focus on it. Brett? He's back.
Thank you.
Go. Yeah. Brett drunk stumbled and stepped on it. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
It's one of the first things I tell to my caddy. I'll pick
Yeah.
up bugs and give it to them, and they need to bring it to safety.
Yeah, we're just hoping a scorpion never approaches her.
So Carrie, I call it the Mondays. So basically, any day other than Thursday through Sunday on a tournament round, I carry at a very different yardage. So it's just the adrenaline once I get into a tournament. And I would say so the Mondays, I'm going to carry my 7-iron like 138. That's where it's going to pitch. And that's just everything being neutral. Like I said, I like to, if I need to take some off, I just hit a little bit of a fade. And if I need to push it, I can just bring it back in my stance a little bit and give it a little bit extra. I call it a plus. So that's just the language I use with my
Why don't
caddy.
you do a couple of those real quick? Why don't you take 7-iron and do that a couple times?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, actually, can I do it with my 9?
You can do whatever you want.
I love hitting. This is actually a shot. I hit this the first time I played with Shan Feng. I played with her in Beijing the year she won. And one of the holes, she's actually one of my favorite characters. I could sit here and tell Shan stories for a while. But I couldn't carry this mound in the fairway, and so I hit it right into it, and it pretty much didn't go anywhere. She carried it a couple yards further, but it carried on top of the slope, so we were 40 yards apart. And then it was like a kidney-shaped green, and the pin was tucked right over a bunker. And I took my 9-wood, and it was off an upslope, and I just used that slope, hit it in there super soft. I hit it to like 5 feet, and it just came down, like I said, like a butterfly, and just plopped right by the pin. And then she hit her shot in, probably a wedge, and she turned around and she said, "How you do that?" And I was like, "Do what?" She goes, "You hit your wood there to there. How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, you just hit it in, 8 feet right by me." And she goes, "I have a wedge, you have a wood. How do you do that?" And I think she has one of the best minds, male or female, and so I always love playing with her. But yeah, something I love to do is just open this up on whether it's on a par 3 or coming into a par 4, I just hit basically a baby fade. And with the loft on the 9-wood, it doesn't move it much left to right, but it just makes it so soft. So it just lands, and I feel like there's not a pin I can't go at, which is...
What range is your baby fade? Like?
She's gonna show you. Yeah, right now you got like a really good seat.
It's everything else being equal and no cords in the way. Like 155, I can bring it down consistently. I have taken more off of it.
Tim. Yeah.
157, I'm sorry.
You extremely straight. How much do you practice? And to be straight, I always think centering and balance. If you don't have it, how much time do you spend, Jamie, do you guys do any balance center work?
I'd say our language, and Mo can answer this as well too, but I can say our language is really simple. We know each other really well. We're really good friends, kind of like family. I want to hear what's going on in her life. We've got 3 or 4 basics. I'd say her swing has been broken 1 time since we've seen her. It was off the injury. That's a typical thing happen when you can't make coil, is the club kind of got sagged and laid off a little bit and the face was open a little bit. And what we realized at the time is that was my job to not really say anything about that, just to kind of go slow and get her back where she was making rotation. The club got up a little bit. She can't play from a closed club face, but she can't play from an open club face. And then, is Tim Mitchell around here any place? Tim? What? Damn it. Okay, I won't tell this. No. He's, all the body trace stuff. We love the body trace. We've never had her on body trace because she moves down below better than anybody I've coached as well, too. She gets out of the way of it, and she's transporting the golf club down to the ball by unwinding her hips, which everybody great has done that. Jim, you're here, and those shots of Jack, like nobody drove the hips better than Jack, correct, Jim? Yeah, and then he drove him so hard that he hit every shot, like this, and he drove him so hard that his body went like that into every shot. Oh, there's another straight one, and like that. And while she doesn't hit it with the power of Jack, I would say that her fundamental movement downstairs is impressive, like as much as I've seen. Go ahead.
Oh, specific to are the thoughts rhythmic? Are there no thoughts? What's going on in that moment, right into the waggle and into
One thing I really have loved and appreciated about Jamie is he's given us these wonderful lessons, and he told me on our first lesson, he's like, some of the best lessons aren't going to make sense like until years later, and that's so true. But he's let us as players digest and really make it our own. And he's never, like that waggle you were just talking about, that's completely natural. Like, I know Cantley does something similar, but like he's never instructed us to do that, and he leaves that alone, which I think is super important. And to me, that's just getting my feel, and probably too my sense of balance. When I get off a little bit, like I tend to get a little bit too forward, so my weight does get off. So it's a little bit of a constant battle just getting it back. That's just one thing that I keep an eye on. But it's a very outward, like the more outward into my shot I can make it, I mean, when I'm fading it or drawing it, I'm really seeing the shape of the shot and my target. And so, like I said, that's pretty much all that's going on.
Josh, your question's an interesting one, and I know a lot of times when we're doing this we sound cynical or pompous, but that's not really our style at all. But I wonder if you were watching some of that shot free throws really well, if you'd say, hey, how do you bounce the ball? I mean, it's like watching fish swim. We're on the fish subject right now.
Or platies.
So, okay. How do you spell that?
P-L-A-T-Y-S.
specifically within the, we talked about, my first question.
If you were going to coach somebody to shoot free throws, would you teach them how to dribble if they already dribble perfectly?
No.
Yeah, so I mean, that's like that at this point, I can't, if we ever did that, I can't even remember doing that.
It was more speaking to the what's going on.
Yeah, and I think at that point, quiet. I mean, yeah, we're turning the engine off, no thinking, heart rate going down, no grip pressure. I'm a great player. I've won a major championship, I hit it straighter than anybody in the game. That'd probably be good stuff to think. Well, you do have a really good view right here, buddy.
So pure.
Yeah, that a kid.
That's why I ran out of the other room fast.
Yeah, I saw it. We're going to do something just to get her body going. Like, this would be one of those nights that she kind of came out and, I hadn't seen her for a little bit. And I just going to watch her hit some shots. And I'll probably watch her hit shots once a week, maybe twice a week maximum, standing over her. I watch her hit balls every time that she's out there, and she knows it, but a lot of times they're not saying anything. Just checking it out and taking a picture in my mind, where Michael said, I have to have it down. I can't memorize it. I have to memorize it in my mind, but I guess that's kind of the same thing that we're doing in our register. So go ahead and take your setup to it. And this, when she doesn't move downstairs very well, I would just put this on her, and she'll load a bit like this. I'm barely touching her hip, and then she'll swing back. I'm plenty out of the way. Don't worry, plenty out of the way.
Be nervous when you do this.
You're never nervous. Go.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Jamie.
Maybe. And then I just kind of push her a little bit like that. And that touch, like Allison, you're good at description. Like, put your hand up and relax your hand totally. Not just put it up like that. Okay? I'm barely touching you, right? And then what did I do there? Tell the crowd. Yeah, it's a nudge. So just to hold in a nudge. And I would say in the game right now, if you're thinking of that, it's load and get rid of. Load, get rid of, you know.
Yeah.
You had to say the one reason you hit the ball straight. Could you say this is the reason I hit it straight?
I think, I know there are a lot of different theories, and it's probably a little controversial, but my dad, when I was growing up, like, I mean, plane-wise, like, he would literally stop me. Like, I would take it a foot back, and he would say, stop, 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 stop. So I never really had any huge bad habits. So even when I was little, I was hitting it really straight because, like, he just ingrained that, and I didn't know anything else. And I know a lot of players who've played successfully, and they, you know, they're kids, and they just bomb it, and then you suddenly, you know, bring them back down to something more neutral. In the path you're looking for. But, you know, I mean, my dad, you know, my grip, just like I said, he wanted me to always have my hands on it the proper way. And he just wanted me to learn step by step it properly. And so I have to say that that's a huge part of it, because all of my life I've been used to hitting it straight. And so that's my norm. That's all I knew. That's what I knew growing up, and that's what I still know.
And remember, your mind doesn't know a good habit from a bad habit. It just knows what you get it to do. So the job there, and our job, right, is from a very early age to get them going exactly in the right way. I can tell you from my standpoint of developing tour players and then having some stain and do that, it's way easier than, you know, we're not taking on any players, but now we're getting these phone calls, you know, all the time. Can you teach me? Can you teach me? And I also think about what am I going to do to that person and how long is it going to take? And this is a 20-year-long relationship where I knew about her 10 years before when she's playing junior golf. So it takes a lot of time to do that. And are you going to be able to change their habits, you know? So they're used to walking down the street like that. Are you going to make them walk down the street like that for a while in order to get their foot straight? It's hard to do. We're gonna answer your questions, promise. But we're just going to go like into another segment for a second. I love the Symetra Tour. I have to say, like, of all the golfing thing that I get to, people are, oh, how was the Ryder Cup, you know? How was FedEx? How was this? They're all cool. I've been to 100 major championships. They're all cool to watch. You know, this is what we do for a living. So we should be there, and that's the way that we try to look at it. But something cool about the Symetra Tour. First of all, ladies golf is on the huge rise. The players are better than ever. The girls that are 12 or 13 years old are better than ever. And these are these girls, like, staying in people's houses, the old housing period. They're playing golf. They're not playing for very much money, but they're honing their craft, and then every year a couple, 3 or 4 of them come out and they become Mo Martin, you know? So why don't you talk about the Symetra Tour for a second, and then we're going to hit some drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of love for it too, obviously, and there's a lot of camaraderie out there. You know, if you pay your bills, you're doing a good job. It's successful. There's not a lot of money out there, and that's also kind of not the reason we're out there. One of my best friends, Jeannie Umek, is here, so she was on that ride with me for quite a while. We also played at UCLA, and we're on that championship team from the beginning. So really, I mean, the friendships are amazing, but also just learning how to play and how to compete. And I truly believe a win is a win. You know, when I was in the lead after the second day at Birkdale, and someone was like, well, you've never won on the LPGA. And I was like, well, I've won 3 times on the Symetra Tour. And to me, that was significant. You know, I had to learn how to manage myself, my game, and the competitors, and just, you know, as Jamie says, do my goods down the stretch and during the whole week. And so I think learning how to do that, I mean, it was just invaluable. It also gave me time with my grandpa, who was a huge influence in my life. And
please expound on that more.
Oh, I have an L around my necklace, and that's the only piece of jewelry I wear regularly. And I didn't actually get to, you know, like you guys have gotten a glimpse kind of into my childhood. Didn't get to know him until my college days, really, after my dad passed away. And he changed my life emotionally just by the way he was. And I think on the Symetra Tour, his love and unconditional support, and whether I won the tournament or whether I had a bad day, he treated me no differently. And I just think that is so important, and it's what I've seen throughout successful people, no matter what we're doing. You know, we need that. We need to be spoken to the same way. And another thing he really did, and this was amazing, you know, looking back, it gave me such perspective. I didn't think I had a great year. I didn't think I was progressing the way I wanted to. And he just silently kind of knew this and processed it. And one day he came in and he wrote down a list of everybody on the Symetra Tour, and then everybody who went to Q school who wanted to be on the Symetra Tour. And he was just like, hey, he said, let me give you some perspective. He was like, you're doing really well. And it was just a shift to the positive, to like what I am accomplishing. And I think, seriously, that's so important in a round, even if you don't feel like you're playing well, to focus on what you did do well. If it was a good drive, if it was a good save, if it was a good putt, I mean, I think starting from your strengths and going from the positive, I really learned that on the Symetra Tour. And I learned how emotional golf is, really. And that you need that basis, you need that starting point, because it's so easy to get critical. It's so easy to, miss a putt on the last hole and focus on that, when in fact you did a lot of really, really good things. And so you really have a choice what you're going to digest, what you're going to feed your brain, what you're going to think about. And I think that's super important. So.
Yeah, on that too, think about this. When Patrick won the FedEx, I laughed, and when Veronica won her Symetra event, I cried. So, the tour is cool. It's cool. And I was going to say, our kids are at home, and Mo's helping mentor the kids that I are by the way that she acts with her presence and the way that she talks to them. But when they come back from a tournament, everybody's back on the line, back kind of by our gym. And, we're hitting balls, and they're all comfortable with each other, and they're all learning from each other. It would be hard to say whether Patrick became Patrick Cantlay because of John Cook, or John Cook became a better Champions Tour player and won 10 times because of Patrick Cantlay. So it's all working kind of in a team spirit back there, and everybody's pulling for each other. But with our kids, and this is the big thing for you, we'll profile them and say, how'd the last event go? And they try to tell me a score immediately, and I'm like, no, I don't need to know a score. How'd you drive it? Scale of 1 to 10. 7. Why was it a 7? How'd you putt it? What was your tactical approach? How was your nutrition? Did you do your workouts? How'd you sleep? Did you get your homework done if they're in college? So on and so forth. And let them score that. That's going to tell you what the score of the event is. The one thing I can tell you about the FedEx, and we're not going to talk about this today because it's Mo's deal, but one thing I tell you about the FedEx is we didn't talk about money, ratings, rankings, Ryder Cup. We stayed on the same swing key for the whole year. He had a couple bumps in the whole year where he was still playing good, so his physicality and his mentality was good. And we just stayed in the zone, and everybody the whole time let us do our stuff, right? Just kind of cruise and go, okay, well, they're just doing their stuff. So, drivers?
Let's
talk about the British Open. And there was 2 questions back there. What do you got?
Yeah, my question was, so as someone who hits a lot of fairway woods, like, do you have a different key or a different feel for fairway metals versus some other clubs in your bag?
No, not really. I mean, as you can see, I take a lot of divots, and I take those same divots with my fairway woods. And I think that's how I generate spin and am able to stop them on the greens. And I have noticed, I tried hybrids when they first came out, and I hated them. And so, I don't know. I kind of feel like you're a math or an English person. You're either a hybrid or a woods person. And I just love my woods, and I don't like I guess I don't feel like I can hit down on a hybrid and get that same amount of spin. And so I don't know the technicalities behind it. That's, you guys are way better at that than I am. But I just know my woods, I'm not a sweeper. I never have been, and I treat my woods the same as my irons, essentially. And then things just, the longer the club gets, it kind of naturally moves to a different position.
Do you find yourself telling your player, like, pull out your hybrid? They're like, I don't have a hybrid. I have a 5-wood Jimmy. Remember, I do this for a living. You coach me. I'm like, I'm used to saying hybrid now. I never thought that was going to be the case. Because as we grew up, it was wood, and they were in a knitted head cover, They didn't have a logo on it. And then, it was 3-wood and 5-wood. Nobody had a 7-wooder you got laughed at, Now everybody's like, give me one of those 7 or 9 woods that I can hit like a 9-iron that goes straight up in there and comes straight down. And she does it with a wood the same way.
What I was going to say about Birkdale, has anybody played there? Can you guys raise your hand if you have? Anybody know? Okay, so a couple. So the 18th fairway is essentially split, but it doesn't look that way from the tee box. It looks like pretty much the only option is down the right, and it's split by a pretty good fairway bunker, like pop bunker that you can't really get out of. The wind typically comes off the left there, but when I went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I just went down in the fairway and I looked back at the tee box. This is something I'll regularly do just to get my management, just to see really like what the fairway is asking you to hit into it. And I looked back and I realized the left side of that pop bunker, even though you can't see it from the tee box, there's a ton of room. And you're not really giving up much yardage. And so I was like, I'm just going to go down the left side. And I think in the entire tournament, I may be the only player who went down the left side of that fairway. And it ended up being really significant on Sunday. I ended up making an eagle there. I almost made a 2. But I played it down that left side. I didn't change my strategy. And it was, you know, I think that's very interesting. So being the most accurate player, I didn't take, you know, the right side that technically had the advantage. I still stayed down the conservative side. And apparently that made all the difference that week.
In her humble manner, too, that she made eagle on the last hole. I'm going to argue, Jim, you have a better plethora of knowledge than I do, but has anybody in a major championship hit a 3-wood off a flagstick on a 5-par and then made eagle to win a major or win a tournament? Oh, yeah? Yeah. I thought you were going to say, well, when I was in junior golf. I can't think of it, yeah? I mean, I want to argue that, you know, she's our girl, obviously, but I think she hit the best shot anybody's ever hit in a major championship. I remember Corey hit one in there really close at Shinnecock, but it was the second shot, and he didn't make the putt. You know, she made it for 3 to win her major championship. So how about a hand for that, huh? This would be standard, her and I practicing, and I would say, you know, show me a nice deep turn and get out of the way of it and show me that great Mo pace. It's impressive, like, here you go. You want to catch? Or my hand? What was I going to say? I said it's impressive, too, in watching it. In a weird way, it's hit harder than a lot of the people that I coach. Yeah, it's just hit harder with the speed that she makes, you know? And, like, if she was as big as Luke, it would go 380 yards, you know? Luke should be playing in the NFL.
Jamie, there's constant motion in her. She's always moving.
Yeah, and I mean, you see that a lot. I don't see too much stagnance, you know. As I was saying to you, Josh, like, I mean, remember, we're coaching a sport. Like, I like watching pitchers, you know. Like, right at the time you watch playoff baseball, they get it, you know, motion, look, shake off, shake off. Mo, the other day, I was acting like I was pitching her to her. We also, when we see each other, this would be a typical thing. You want to do it? I'll be like, you know, talking to whoever at the club, and she'll be 100 yards away, and I'll go like this.
Yeah, I just got down in the parking lot and started going like this.
So she was in the parking lot like that.
And Jamie was going, no.
No.
And then I just kept doing different ones.
Got a lot of time on our hands. Where's Larry? Just kidding, Larry. We're working all the time. And like those tee shots, like if you went out there, those last 2 balls, the toe hook, I got a lot of these Madonna packs on me, by the way. Bryce, I'm going to need some help here. Those tee shots, if you looked at them, the towing hook would be like 2 yards from that last ball that she hit. And the first one would be like 8 yards to your left. Thank you. And so now let's play some golf, okay? Let's imagine that whatever you can see in that opening down there, I don't know whether that's a sprinkler box or whatever it is down there in the opening, over to the left over here to the left of the sprinkler, like that's the line of the hazard, and the hole kind of goes around that way. So I want you to hit me one right off the left edge of this green right here, and the wind's, you can feel where the wind is, so you can do what you want to do is that in that spot. 4 par, 392 yards.
Something I really like to do too, just to challenge myself. You know, everybody likes a certain side of the range or likes a certain target, and I like to go to targets that I don't like, just to practice. You know, being uncomfortable on those certain holes that doesn't set up exactly for your eye. So, I don't know. I like moving it around, and sometimes I'll ask my caddy to pick a target too, or Jamie, because, you know, they're not going to, my eye's not going to naturally go there. So.
And as she's walking in this, I like painting a hole. So like, let's imagine this is the 9th hole at Mission Hills. That's a swinging left dog leg that everybody tries to hit around that corner, but we don't need to do that. We just need to hit it.
Yep.
And you know, if you want to have the left edge of the fairway, whatever. So, and I think that's really important that with your tour players that you know where they're playing and what the holes look like. And when you're practicing, you do that all the time. That is
so
1 yard right of where we're looking.
Well, not where I was looking, but.
We've been through this before. What do I say? Don't tell on yourself, okay?
So he, you know, again, I'm looking at basically that left edge of the green, and to me, it's just a high target. So that peak with like the little 3 things sticking up, it would be the center of that. I found it super important just to narrow my focus, like as much as possible. And I have excellent eyesight, so I can usually look at, you know, like a tiny leaf, and it's not just a tree, it's just like the right side of it, or it's an actual like branch in the center of it. And so I think that's really important too, in accuracy.
It's interesting what we do too. I like that old Stanford thing where the people are throwing in there, take 50 kids and they're throwing a ball on a hoop and they're telling them that they got 10 seconds to throw it, and then they got 50 more kids that come in and they just toss them a ball and they're throwing it over there in the hoop. And the second batch is way more successful than the first batch because they're reacting. And then after they get rid of the first batch because they weren't as successful, they tell them just to focus on a target, and then the number goes up like 20%. So think about that. I think about that often. That was the best swing that she made. And that swing looks deep in load, got out of the way. Amazing transitional pace as the club slopped down. Golf club totally left alone on the way through and all the way into her follow through. And it's interesting with a player like this, if she does that, nice shot. With a player like this, if she does that and she's doing that all the time, like the cool thing, and I think you kind of blinked at me, looked at me a little bit, she can play with any of them because they're just right in front of her and she can play, you know. At their level, there are not very many people with her intelligence are making bogeys from the fairway. What you got?
Real quick, for you, how often do you use face impact with your...
Never. Never. Yeah. What? My eyes? Yeah. What? How often do you use face impact tape? Yeah, I never use it. Yeah, I don't even think I've ever. I know Steve maybe did before, but I just never use it. I'm using my eyes. And I keep telling everybody that. Like, I'm standing up there most of the time, looking back and seeing where the strike is, and then I want to hear the audio, and I want to see the delivery, and I want to watch the golf club hit the golf ball. And I think the more you do it at a really high speed or their speed, the better opportunity you have to make your eye better. I wanted to ask Chris this, but how much better is your eye now that you're on tour all the time? Like, right? Like what Michael Breed said this morning, right? Like, it just gets better. And I don't go on vacation very often. Vacation for me is the surf at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is lovely. But when I do go on vacation and I come back from it, I'm a little rusty. I haven't seen it in a little bit. I need to watch it a little bit. And I get it a little bit closer and a little bit more up in front. So good question there. Go ahead. You already had a question. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're gonna give him one. Okay? Yeah. We're in equality.
Just right.
Oh, that's a good one. You know, I don't know. I obviously didn't play in this, but sometimes, you know, I don't like getting my numbers. So my caddies like have to be really good with the numbers because I like walking up to a shot and reading the lie. Like, the lie is super important to me. Is a little bit above my feet, a little bit below my feet, down slope. Like, that's really going to affect, for me, the way it's going to come off and the carry yardage. And then I'm feeling the wind and any subtle changes in it, like just really kind of getting into my target. So I like my caddy to get the number. And I don't know, I find it kind of entertaining, and it's my sense of humor. But when I do hit those perfect, when we've talked about it, and then, you know, it's like a 142 carry and it's like just over a bunker, as soon as I hit it, I've said multiple times to my caddy, if that's not perfect, you suck at your job. And I think that makes
I love
really...
that, and there's a cockiness about her too that I love as well too. She comes off as this lovely, elegant, classy lady, but she's she's super confident in what she's doing.
But I know for sure that that is going to go
Yeah.
142, and so if it's off, it wasn't my fault. It's his. And so yeah, I mean I've done that multiple times, and it's organic. Like I said, it's just my sense of humor. So
yeah.
How many do you think around?
Too discerning, and we don't have enough time. Sorry. So yeah, too discerning.
There would be. I feel like on a good day there are multiples. Not everyone, but there are multiples. And I feel like, my dispersion of my misses are pretty narrow. So even when I do miss it, I'm still, relatively where I want to be. And it's important for me, the Monday through the Wednesdays when I'm looking at a hole, I will put all around the greens like either OKs or X's. And the X is just like, I don't want to be there under any circumstance, no matter what happens. My ball's not going to end up there. And it never does. And so I think that's how I regulate, my score, make so many pars. And so my miss is either going to be exactly where I want it to be, or it's going to be, just in one of those okay areas, which is going to be still a nice approach to the pin.
My best instructional tip for the 2021 coaching summit is learn to watch your players' eyes when they're hitting their shots on what it looks like. Quit worrying about 1 inch higher here, 1 inch lower there. Learn to watch their eyes on what they like when they hit a good one. And then if you're doing it on the road, there's no way that you can watch Steely play golf and not know when he's hit a great one, a good one, a fair one or not. We play with him at home all the time. And, then I coach Patrick. He's the biggest poker face in the world. But he's got like 3 poker faces for me. He's going to laugh almost because it was so good. He's going to throw up because it was bad. And he doesn't let anybody know that. And then he's just got stock, which he just expects to do, and it all looks the same. And then I've watched him make birdies on all one of those things, and he touches his cap like that, goes to the next hole, and that's that. So learning to watch their faces regardless of how expression-oriented they are. And every day the vibe that she's in right now, like when we were going to come out here and do this, I said, Mo, it's you and I, let's just do it and be in our vibe. She's in her vibe right now, so you can feel that. You can feel the energy of that, the same way that somebody talked about that earlier. I love the energy of that. We got about 3 more minutes, so let's take 3 more questions, and we're going to hit 2 more tee shots. No. I love you, man. You got the best seat. You already asked a question. What do you got?
Hi, Mo.
Hi. Hi, Angel.
I got a question about
Mm-hmm.
Do you have clubs in your bag you just kept over the years?
Various
too.
This is
my honey club. I'm not getting rid of that.
Absolutely. I was just talking to Bedell about this. My woods are super old. I think it would make a lot of people cringe. And I've tried new ones, and like every year Callaway TaylorMade, I go down and I try new woods. But the problem is they do go farther, and I don't want them to. So everything's spaced out the way I want it to. I know exactly, I have a yardage. I know exactly what's going to go there. Recently, my 5-wood, I think it just got old. I don't know whether it was the head or the shaft, but it's probably 10 years old. And that started to go because it wasn't going the yardage I wanted to. So I put a new one in, and Nick was laughing at me because he goes, oh, you came all the way up to 2019? And so, the newest models don't matter to me, other than in a driver. The driver, as long as I like the spin, I can control it each way, and like the spin's right, and I usually can feel that right away. The driver can go as far as it wants to. 3-wood, I love to be able to get it to hunt, just like I did at the British Open. I think that shot was 238 yards, which is further than I typically hit my 3-wood. But I'm able to hit a draw and let it go. But I also need to be able to hit a fade because a lot of the courses we're playing are super long for us. And so, we're playing cold and wet, and it's 440 yards, I have a 3-wood coming in, and I want to be able to stop it on the green. And so it's not necessarily technology. My wedges, I have Ippon wedges, and I love those. And because I compress it so much, I go through those pretty quickly. And so I change those a couple times a season. My irons, I'll change them when they wear out. But yeah, my woods, they've been good to me, and they're still going, you just saw it exactly. I know how it's going to go. And so I would never trade that just to say I hit my 7-wood 15 yards further. That doesn't matter.
I got to give that some love. Yeah. One more drive, 2 more questions.
Okay.
2 more drives after that. All right.
Okay.
Oh,
sorry. Jay.
That's okay.
I'm going to change the fairway. I'm going to go back more towards the center.
Okay. Why don't you do this? Why don't you come back out of your routine one more time, and let's pretend it's just you and I, and you tell me where you're looking. And why don't you change the target a little bit if you want to go toward the red flag or wherever you want to look. You tell me where you're looking.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go towards the right. Actually, you know what? Here, why doesn't somebody...
Yeah, pick a shot.
Somebody,
Dial a shot.
Allison.
Allison, come on.
Get a target. Again, this is what I like to do, so it makes me uncomfortable and it's not natural for my eye, but you can pick something ground level or up top and I'll adjust. At the bottom, okay. So the 4 posts there, so if that's my...
It looks like there's a fire hydrant in the middle of it. We're going to hit it out the fire hydrant.
So I would go up.
Dial a drive.
And I have a little bit of the tiny bit of the bush that I'm going to keep in mind. And also, I do this kind of naturally. I had to do it at one of our last tournaments. We played it was super long, and I had to kind of flight my 5-wood coming in. And I naturally picked a lower target. So it was just my eye looking a tiny bit lower of what's normal for me, and I think that just told my body to fight it a little bit. I think it was Patty Berg, right, Jay, who was like, think high, hit it high, think low, hit it low. So I love that stuff. So I do ask Jamie a lot about my alignment, and I love to play with my shoulders a tiny bit closed to the target. Now that's technically a miss, but it's still going to be in the fairway.
That one too, I've learned to love too. Like I wanted to fix that one at times, and I learned to love it because it's chasing so hard. It's hit like that and it's spilling. And like at the PGA Tour level, everybody that we work with has this, and the young kids, they got a chaser, and it's the chaser sometimes is better than the bomb or the stock one. The chaser gets through the wind. It's a really, really nice one. Question. What you got back there?
So the two of you have obviously a very good relationship. And you alluded to it earlier about taking a genuine interest in getting to know the person, their background. Mo, what role or what, I guess you could say, trust comes from that, knowing that he has a genuine interest in you and your well-being beyond your own?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said trust. That's the fulcrum of any relationship, friendship. Coaching, teaching, and I think we feel that as players and individuals. I do remember, I don't think Jamie's ever heard this, but I do remember the very first lesson I had with him, and he had me kind of do these funky things, like I was on a big slope and I was hitting these high shots, and he had me just do things that I didn't know why he was asking me, but then he literally just looked at me and he said, "You can do this." And those words really resonated with me, and whether I fully believed it at the time or not, it didn't really matter. The fact that he said it, and he was somebody that I trusted, and that trust has only grown. And this is going to sound a little funny, but it's true. But somebody asked me recently about Jamie, and I said, he's the type of person that would give you his last pair of underwear, and he would know you needed those underwear before you did. And the guy kind of looked at me.
I think it's a big step. I'm wearing them now. I'm a surfer. You've seen the guy with the towel, right? Yeah, it's a big step. I'm wearing them.
But
thank you for that.
No, he's been, we've become friends, and I just have a ton of respect for him. And I've seen, just going back to the beginning, and as far as like giving back, I know that Jamie, even when he was just starting out and he didn't even have enough money in his bank account to help, there was a little old lady in Long Beach that was going to lose her swimming pool.
Oh, stop. You're going to make me cry.
And Jamie learned about it, and he went down and knocked on her door and said, can I pay the rent for you? And he did, and he continued to, and he made a tournament for her, and he made sure that she never lost that swimming pool. But he didn't have enough money for the check, so he had to go home, and he went to the golf course and taught a couple lessons. So that's who we have in Jamie, and I know that. And so that's just that. Yes. Please. But that's the spirit, and please remember that. I don't care if you forget everything else I said. I'm going to go a little bit left. I'll go with that. It looks like some fencing up top, just for fun. Post to the fence. Hey, good question.
Good. One more question. Who's going? Right back there.
On your interaction, right before last, you were talking about your shoulders a little close.
Yeah.
You paused. Jamie didn't say anything, and then you hit a drive that you felt was left. Did you feel like there was like some hesitancy or some tension that built up? You were waiting for him to give feedback on the shoulder?
No, I wasn't waiting for him. I mean, it's a little distracting. I mean, to have the core, everything. I don't feel like I was completely locked into that target. To be honest, I don't feel like it was my best mental work. And I was just, it's not normally what I do when you're in competition. It's just like you're so into your routine, and so I just felt like that was a little bit off. And then just I'm not usually talking when I'm over my shot too. But that last one, I felt super engaged, and that was my go-to, and I hit that one for me. That was perfect. That was one of those shots I was talking about.
Closed shoulders, an interesting one too. Like closed shoulders, I know all the coaches kind of talked about it a little bit, but you're getting more depth and more term from that for sure. Like with John Cook, I got to admit, and I inherited John Cook from Venturi, who learned to play from Hogan and Nelson, and swore that they were more closed than you thought they were to the target line on that spot, especially Byron as Byron got a little bit older. So, and John, for 25 years led the tour in, or was in the top 10 in tour in greens and regulations before they had the complex stats. And I couldn't get John to play. We call it, Veronica invented what we call the Nadal drill because it looked at Nadal's backhand. So I don't think we invented that, but she can do it. Veronica can do it like that and hit you a ball that goes perfectly straight out of that spot, and with a deeper turn and the club comes down. I think that's a good one for you. And making more speed. If I had somebody that had too much speed, yeah, I let him play more left of the target. We watch Fred hit balls a lot. He's at our club a lot. He's left of the target a lot of times, but Fred's also made an amazing amount of speed. He's got calves on him that are this big, and his hips turn great. So that's that. One of the pleasures of my life to be able to do this with you guys, and then to have this lady here today. How about it for Mo Martin?
Thank you. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you.